Today we pay our respect in memory of someone who's had a huge effect on many of our lives. Someone who stood by us, and even when we disagreed at times, he always had our back. Today we celebrate the relationship he treasured with each one of us. While mostly these relationships started in or next to an indoor cricket court, these relationships transcended the sport he loved. He is one of very few coaches who won national or IPTs under the auspices of NICA, SAICA, Action Cricket, ICSA and the SICF. I cannot recall how often John stated that he doesn't want to be called a legend, but to many that's exactly who and what he was. I know that the sport of indoor cricket lost an icon, a trendsetter. I know that the world lost an awesome person, a husband, a father, a friend. And I just want to say, he always said, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. What matters is how you played the game. You, sir, played the game well. Today we will remember our beloved friend, mentor, our coachee, Johnny Wilson. Daar vergeet ek op die einde.
To start, coaching, this is from all the boys and men you've played and coached for the past few years. Feel free, give your time and talent to teach us how to play. With patience and endurance, you guided us each day. You said winning isn't everything, above all else, have fun. Well, win or lose, as our coach, you'll always be our number one. Late 1995, I just finished with my rugby season and I met this guy in Valada Arena. I walked in there, I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know the game. People hanging against the nets, jumping around, falling, slaps. And we played against this bald-head oak. He always coached us, don't use too many balls in one over. Okay, so I faced him in the one over. It looked like 8 balls I faced, and it was only 6. From there, he invited me to join the squad, or not the squad, trials on the Saturday. Word can you say, I did make it. And from there, my journey started with my coach. 96, we walked in and we didn't fare very well. But from there, widely spread, Cullinan, Bronkies, we were a bunch of lighties, if you can say. He brought us up where we became a side, a family, and good friends. In 1998, we played in the arena called Midrand. We played in the final. We started the game. We weren't the favorites in this game because we played against Gauteng. So obviously that was their home arena. And we started this game. We batted first. We went in. We set a good total there. And the coach came past us and he told us, no, we can go and defend it. That's why I made you fit. Maybe we can't bat, but we can defend any total we can do with. In the game, I think it was in the final overs, he normally suggested where we must bowl and what we must do. The 16th over came up and there was one name less or over that must bowl, and that was myself. And during this time, all the games stopped. And all the people gathered around the court. And now, yes, the little Dutchman standing there looking for his coach, assistants, and some inspiring words. But all the people pushed them out. I lost my coach. So I had to stand there and do it myself. The fifth ball, one of our players pushed somebody. And at that stage, we had the game in the bag. And they penalized us with -6. So as the coach and the manager taught us, don't take it personally, just go out and win this game. I turned around, I was looking for my coach, my damage, nobody was there. So I must face this last ball. And this I will never remember in my life, or never forget, is during practices, this oak will somewhere make you close your eyes to bowl a ball, visualize where you must go. And something just clicked in my life and went up, closed my eyes, calmed down, and bowled the ball. I bowled the ball, there was no noise. I opened my eyes, we won the game, I fell down. So the only oak, or the first oak I saw coming onto the court was my coach when I opened my eyes and I saw his face. Because this was a very special moment in my life. This is the first nationals he won in the colt section before he went to men's. I just want to say something else for you, Coachy. It's out of my heart towards you, what you meant to me, what you brought out in me, and where I am today. My Coachy, even when I said I can't, you said I could. Even when I said I won't, you said I should. Even when I said I'll lose, you said go win. Even when I said I'll fail, you said well done. Even when I said I don't believe in myself, you said don't worry, I believe in you. Dankie my Coachie vir alles wat jy in my lewe gedoen het. Slaap sag.
Sitting here thinking back 2 weeks ago when we received this terrible news, what a shock, I think, for all of us. I was in my study, busy with some work, and I just had to recline back and think about this and think about the times that we had together. Think about Johnny Wilson. And you'll hear quite a lot being said about the person and about the sport. But for me, what was actually amazing is to really think about what's the times we had together outside of that. The impact he's made within the sport it's unbelievable, it's unrivaled. But it was the days on the road, having one-on-one conversations, sharing life experiences, getting guidance. Those are the things that really stood out for me. And getting back to the work, ironically enough, I stumbled across a saying, or a meme as it's called nowadays, where it says, a coach's worth is not measured in his win-loss ratio, but the impact that he has made in people's lives. And that is so true about Johnny Wilson. Absolutely no doubt about it. I mean, anybody that's played this game, and I think we're very fortunate in the caliber of people that we had playing this game, the coaches, players that have been very, very, very successful over these years. Anybody says Johnny Wilson didn't have a contribution towards that, I'm not too sure, because he was an absolute revolutionary when it came to the game. The way he thought about it, the way he studied it, the way he introduced it. He just made such an impact on the sport. And so many people will attest to that, and I'm sure the people speaking will also mention that. But above all of that, the human being that he was, the time that he took for each and every single individual is absolutely unrivaled. Now, let me be very clear. With Johnny, there were no grey areas. It was black or it was white. To be very honest, he was your biggest critic, but he was also your biggest supporter, no matter what. He liked being in the background. I recall a specific instance, and let it being said, him and Mike Wink, those two people, yeah, two peas in a pot. But we were playing the Tri-Nations in South Africa. Johnny was not a part of that from a squad perspective, part of that. We played the final in Benoni, and in the elation of all of what's happened, we as players, we won the tournament. It was quite substantial for us, as that was the first series win ever against Australia. And we all ran off celebrating, high-fiving, getting in the bus and enjoying what we should after a tournament like that. Forgetting about what was happening off the court and then after what happened in that tournament. So it was about 3-4 years ago, Johnny Wilson came up to me and presented me the actual match ball of when we played in the final. So nobody thought about it, nobody was interested in that. But that was the person that he was. He was so passionate about it. He actually went on the court. Nobody notices. Went and fetched a piece of memorabilia that for me at this point in time is just priceless. It really is. But that's what he would do. Never be in the limelight, but looking after his players. And he knew back then how much that would have meant for us. And yeah, it's a massive gaping hole that Johnny is leaving in all of our lives. We surely miss him. The sport is so much poorer in losing a person like that. And like somebody said, one of the memorials was, at 51 years of age, is way too soon for him to go. But like I mentioned earlier, there's another individual, Mike Wenk, that is working very closely with Johnny. And in all our experiences, they were always up to something. We never knew what it was. We always were surprised as to what might happen next. And I've got no doubt. He's the person that Johnny is, and the way he went about it is, he's gone on to the next stage, and I can tell you now he's arranging something for us that it's probably not expected, but be well worth it. So the sport would be definitely poorer, but as a brother, a husband, a father, but most of all a friend, you leave a massive, massive hole. And my friend, all I want to say is you must rest in peace. It is goodbye, but it's not farewell. And we can't wait to see you again. Shalom, my friend.
So when Mike asked me to do this and said we should prepare or think of what do we want to say, the first thing that came to mind was Johnny telling me straight, man, stop thinking, just do. So I decided I'm not going to prepare for today. I'm not going to read something off. It's going to be blatantly from my heart. One thing that I do want to share is the fact I've known Ice and Johnny for 23 years. It's quite a substantial amount of years. In essence, Ice was the one that brought me up when it came to cricket, gave her a lot of grey hair, shared a lot of special moments, and then came the big man. I was out of the cricket for quite some while, few years, came back in, and it was as if I never left. He received me with open arms, and it was literally like as if I saw him yesterday. So there's a lot of special moments that we shared, but it all comes down to who he was and what he meant for me as an individual and to the sport itself. And as an individual, what Johnny taught me, don't know if he necessarily followed his own rules, but was to keep a balance. And one thing I do respect of Johnny was the balance he had with regards to his family, his wife, and us ladies at the cricket. I doubt that there's any woman in this world that will allow her husband the time that Ice allowed him to, with us ladies. It was his passion, and she let him live his passion. And we will always be grateful to her for the time that we were allowed to spend with him, and the memories that we were able to make with him. Then if you look at the boys, how he raised his boys, in both of them you see him, each in their own way. But Leighton, he was always involved in our cricket. always criticizing, saying things from his dad. And I can see a lot of your dad in you, Leighton. And I truly hope that you will stay involved with us. It's amazing to see you, because in essence we see you as a mini Johnny, a mini coach, something to keep hold of for many years to come. Ice, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thanks for sharing him. Allowing him to not only guide us in cricket, but in life. There were so many things that he would share on a cricket field, but it was life lessons that you can take off the court as well. And not a lot of people can say that from a coach. Because he was a coach, he was a friend, he was a mentor. He was our cricket dad. He was a dad when he walked off the field. I will never forget the way he used to walk up and down the side of a court, kicking around his shoes if he's agitated. You could see it. And the worst part is if he tells me, "Mon, your face shows emotion." And I actually thought, "Johnny, have you seen yours?" And when his giggles were something out of this world. He wasn't the most emotional person. I think that's where we had Mike. But there were certainly some times that Johnny also wore his heart on his sleeve. And that just makes you see that he had a heart. He had a very big heart. And he would throw his arms around you and hug you as if he hasn't seen you for 10 years. So, Johnny, you will be missed. I doubt that there will ever be someone that can fill your shoes the way you did. But ultimately, we wouldn't want that. We always had a joke internally with the ladies as well. There was a specific person that called himself a legend. And Johnny would always say, "How do you know that person is a legend?" And we all go, "We don't know." He says, "He'll tell you he's a legend." And now, Johnny, I can tell you, you are a legend. And you will never be forgotten. We will always wear you in our hearts on the court. And we promise to look after the boys, see them grow up as well as Ice. We love you, we will always love you, and we love you, the Wilson family, from the bottom of our hearts.
It's difficult to know where to start if you want to describe a person like Johnny. On so many levels he's touched me and so many people in our sport and in life, that it's almost an impossible task. I think one of the big things that Johnny lived was belief. And I think the way he treated people and the way he treated players made him a very special and unique person. I got to know Coachy when he took a chance with me when I met him in '99. When I walked into a training invited by one of my friends, and he actually made one of my biggest dreams come true. He gave me my provincial colours, and through the years I was lucky enough to have him hand me my first provincial shirt, my first national shirt. And while digging through all the shirts that I've accumulated over the years, I mean, each and every single one of them has got some sort of a memory connected with Johnny. And him playing such a vital role in my life and in so many other people's lives, I think some of the wisdom that he shared with us on the court, we never really understood as young, hothead under 23 players, where he would have told us stuff like, don't lose your wickets. And we would have thought, but why? I mean, we played -3 and stuff like that. And once we started playing test cricket and it was -5, after I think my first game against Australia, I walked off the court and it was like a light bulb that went off. And thinking back to those years where Johnny hammered it into us, don't lose your wicket, don't lose your wicket. He knew where we were going. Damage alluded to it when he started talking as well. I think probably one of the wisest things that Coachy ever told us was, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And if you play the game the way I coached you, after the match, if you look up at the scoreboard, you would probably see that you've won. That must be one of the wisest things he's ever taught me, because that you can take out straight into the real world out there and you will succeed. If you do the right thing at the right time, in the right way, you will succeed. The impact that Johnny had on my career as a sport person, I'm not exactly sure about the facts, but I think somebody once asked Nick Price what was the most pressure putt he ever had to sink in his life. Was it to win the Open or this major or that major? And he said it was the putt that he had to make it onto the tour. And going through all my shirts, this was the first shirt that Coachy gave me that started me off on my cricketing journey. And little did I know that on this cricketing journey, he would walk that journey with me the entire time. He would share his family with me, my batting partner, Ice. He shared his family with me. I mean, I went through some of the photos the other day again, when Jono was still a little baby. I mean, opened up his heart. And I think that was one of the big strengths of Johnny. He could see potential in anybody, and he could bring out that potential in you. When he spoke to you, you felt like you were the only person in the world. When he was done chatting to you, you felt like the best person in the world. I think Coachy, for the last 22 years, I've been carrying this piece of paper in my wallet every day. and I will continue doing it. Those 3 words I will live out in my sport and in my life. And through my actions and the way I conduct myself, I will cherish and honor your wisdom and legacy that you left for all of us on this, for the people that you've touched, and people whose lives you made an impact on. And you made a big impact in a lot of people's lives. I've said it before and I'll probably be criticized, but you were the only true indoor cricket coach in South Africa that understood the game at a level that we don't even know. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your love with us. You made us want to be a better person. Thank you, Coachy.
Hey guys. So to me, Johnny was a very black and white type person. And it's quite funny. I'm going to read everything, and it reminds me of Johnny next to the courtside. He had his little notebook. God alone knows what he was writing in that book, but it obviously was his little notes. So yeah, I'm going to be reading this. Otherwise, it's way too difficult. Knowing someone for 6 years, you think that you'd have a ton of memories to jump to mind. You think that you'd have so much to speak about, so much to share, to laugh about, or even shout about. And then you sit down to try and write about all of these things, and you can't think of a single thing. I had the honor, as well as the frustration, as I'm sure a lot of people might be able to relate to, of knowing Johnny since around 2016. He had a Facebook status up with the reference to the Trans-Tasman Ladies Series between Oz and New Zealand. He said with the right preparation, he believed that the ladies could go and win gold at the World Cup in 2017. And I guess that's where the journey all started. I think it was 3 months down the line, whatever it was. He was appointed as coach of the SA Ladies squad. And so the shared dream began. When I read the message about Johnny's passing, I was sitting in my car. I read the message like 10 times over. Completely shocked, no words, no thoughts. Everything just went quiet around me. I remember making a call to Amy to ask if she had read the message, and it was just so surreal. It was like all the emotions and the memories were drained from me. I never knew Johnny that much on a personal level. To me, he was always associated with cricket. And it wasn't until I thought about walking into the arena today that I actually came to terms with the fact that he's really gone. To sit here and deal with that realization and to try to put it all into words just sucks. I sit here and it's a vision that will always stick in my mind. I can see him leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, Coke bottle in between his hands, because that man was forever drinking Coke. Just watching. I can see him walking around the court, whistle in his hand, telling us to do things over and over and over again. Those 4-corner drills, those drills that I think everyone within the northern setup, if not the country, has become familiar with. That man loved 4 corners. And am I allowed to swear? I can still hear the words so clearly in my mind. Get the fuck off my court. Hopefully Wheels will explain that one to you guys. But yeah. And always alongside him I see his family. Ice, Jono, Lady, because that's what Johnny was about to me, cricket and family. And he interchanged them very easily, and that showed how much they both meant to him. We all know how hard he worked, and we all know he never got to spend as much time with his family as what he wanted. Yet he still devoted so much of his time to the game and to us ladies. I read a lot of messages after his passing about his family sharing him, and that's exactly what it was. He shared himself with us, he shared his family with us, but at the same time, sorry, you're going to have to edit that. I need to read the sentence properly. He shared himself with us, and his family shared him with us. But at the same time, he shared his family with us. He had an extra spring in his step whenever Ice, John and Lady were with him. They all share that passion for cricket. And whenever we had a practice, a game, a camp, they were always around. His family became our family, a cricket family, our cricket family. A part of me will always owe it to him and to his family to carry on with the game with the same love and respect for it that he did. As I'm sure everyone knows, and if not, then after today I'm sure you will know, that one of his favorite saying was always, "It matters not if you win or lose, but rather how you play the game." So that's the one lesson that I'll take with me. Play hard, give it your all, respect the game, and love every opportunity that you get to play it, because you'll never know when it may be your last.
Hello everybody. Apologies first of all that I can't be at the arena with everybody giving the memorial. With the current situation, I think it's a lot safer that I just stay this side of the world instead of risking it to drive all the way to the arena. But having that said, I think we and to try and memorize Johnny in such a way is very difficult. So many things come to mind when you when you think of Johnny. It still hurts 2 weeks later, but we try and take all the positive that we can out of everything that he gave us. Where does one even start? I think one of the things that stick out the most for me when it comes to Johnny is the mind games that he loved to play with us girls. Those rats and rabbits that used to chase each other, and I don't actually think half the girls knew which way to go. I think at the end of it, neither of us were rats and rabbits. We actually just landed up being sheep following each other. But that was Johnny. He loved to play mind games. He loved to try and figure out where we were, what we were doing, and where our heads were at. And I think one of the things that I really loved was learning from him. You learned every time you stepped onto that field, you learned something new. And with the feedback sessions afterwards was the part that I loved the most about all the camps that we had or any matches that we played. It was just understanding what he thought about a game and putting everything into perspective for us. And I really loved that about him. He was not only just a coach to a lot of us, he ended up becoming a mentor and a man that we idolized. Most people disliked him, but in the same breath, far more people respected him for who he was. And he may not have always said the right thing, but you always knew that you were getting the truth from him. And that's one thing you could never fault him for. As much as you didn't want to hear it, you knew where to go to hear that truth. And Johnny was just that person. He became your best friend when you needed him to be. He knew when to be your coach. He knew when to be your mentor. And then he knew when to be your friend. And I knew at any time I could pick up a phone and phone him. He may have cut you off and be like, I'll phone you back. But he always did. He always phoned you back. And he would spend half an hour, 45 minutes on the phone with you, just listening to you. Giving you the feedback that you don't want to hear, but you knew was coming. I'll never forget the first time that we walked onto the field as a 2017 training squad. And we did a drill. And Johnny, in his very direct format, told us to get off his court. It defined who and what he was building us to become. And we stood there in utter disbelief that this man had just told us to get off his court in a very colourful language. So we eventually left. He said, "We'll go talk to the girls." I'm like, okay. So off we go. Like, guys, I don't really know what to say to you. We've never been kicked off a court before, but we're obviously not living up to the expectation that he's expecting of us. So about 5 minutes later, we all come back on the court. We execute the drill. He turns around and he tells us straight, "You guys are an absolute bunch of bitches. You sit here and you waste my time when you know you can do it as good as what you've just done." And he laughs about it. But you can ask any girl that was part of that 2017 training squad. That'll be one of the things that they remember the most, was getting kicked off that court the very first training camp. But having that said, Johnny lived a very fulfilling life. He gave everything, asked for nothing in return. He loved his family. He always spoke about his boys, always spoke about us in the highest regard. And those boys idolized him. Every training camp, they were there running around with us, wanting to participate wherever they could. And he let them, and we embraced it too. So, Johnny, may your legend live on. May your spirit live on in action cricket. And I hope that we will be able to win that World Cup for you. I know you'll be watching. And we can win it for you in your memory. And we remember everything that you taught us.
So when it comes to my dad, I never really know what to say, because my dad was an incredible human being. He created ordinary people into amazing human beings. It's just the talent he had. He always saw the good in people, even though it was so deep in with them, and all they, on the surface, never looked like they had any good in them. But my dad always knew how to bring that out in people. He always had answers to the most difficult questions out there, and he always knew what to say to his son when he had many doubts, as I had, and the questions I had, he always had answers to them. Today, these courts feel very, very empty, as this was his home. He took me here, he brought me here since I was a little boy. I'll never forget it, because saw him coach, saw him play cricket, and this is where he got to get out of his shell, get out of his house, get out of the normal, and just be himself, where in the normal world he couldn't really do that. And this is the place that made him the most happiest, and the people who made him the most happiest was his family. There's a big hole in my life now, as he was my guide and I was just a tourist in life. And now I have to figure life out by myself using what he gave me. It's going to be very difficult without him, because he was always the person I turned to in my most darkest days and when I just felt off. And I wrote my dad a little something when after I heard the news, because I don't really know how to express my emotions. Instead I write things down, so I just like to read it. 6:10 Tuesday morning, a day and time I will hate for as long as I roam this earth. The feeling of my heart dropping to my feet scared me to my very core. This was the day I lost my role model, my best friend, my superhero, and most importantly, my dad. I'll always remember the smile and your laugh, as they were my comfort in dark days. A man of few words always knew what to say to his boy with lots of doubts and questions. No one understood me quite like you, Dad. I will forever be sorry for not being able to say a proper and heartfelt goodbye. I regret not wanting to come home for as long as I live. You were my home, and I realized that too late. John, if you give it your very best and you know it, I'll forever be proud of you. You always said this to me, and I never felt like I did enough for you and myself, but you convinced me otherwise. Today I promise you, I'll look after my family and walk the unfinished path you left behind. I love you 40 times more than you'll ever know, and I'll miss you more each day. But I'll live to carry the legacy you left with us. I love you, my superhero, my role model, my dad, and my best friend. You have left beautiful footmarks on my heart, and I'll forever live to fulfill that. Rest easy, and I'm jealous of the way you're happy without me. One day we'll meet again, Bali. Your superhero, your biggest supporter, your #1 fan, and your son, Jonathan.
Etched into our memories will be the personal interactions we all shared with Johnny Wilson. I know that to many people, they would have loved to have bring tribute, and I apologize that we couldn't invite everyone. We did have a list, but we couldn't bring everybody here to say their final farewell. But we know that everybody would have been here if they could. And if it was normal times, we would have all been together. I want to ask everybody to post their personal tributes in the comment section. Post a photo you treasure of him and you together. Anything that you remember Johnny Wilson by. Something that stuck with me was the opening line during the family service. It comes from Psalm 119 verse 15. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. Now, a saint is someone that is set apart by God, a virtuous, kind and patient person. And Coachy was all of those. Johnny knew who God was in a non-religious and certainly in a non-judgmental way. Johnny didn't judge people. Johnny just loved people. And although he still had some work to do, or he thought so, because we spoke about it quite often, he was called up. His earthly work was complete. One day, we'll understand the reasons. For the last 27 years, I've been blessed to be in a very close relationship with Johnny. We shared long conversations about, well, everything. Cricket, not cricket. We laughed together, we cried together. Most of all, we shared our hearts with one another. Boy, did we have differences of opinion, but they always led to a reshaping of ideas. And the influence he had on my life in every single aspect was just immense. One thing I knew, he had my back because he understood my passions and he allowed me to be me. just like he allowed everybody that got in contact with him to be them. We loved each other like brothers. And I'm lucky that we would say that to one another, and I urge everyone that use every opportunity to tell people that you love them. Hug them whenever you can and share time with people. Never be too busy. He was my confidant. He was my balancing stick. My emotional self got balanced out by his quietness, his peacefulness. And he was my comforter. I could put my head on his shoulders and he'd just be there. The words he spoke to me will ring in my ears for a long time to come. Yes, he could be a very difficult guy. He wasn't always easy, just like all of us. But he didn't have mood swings. He had hugely high standards for himself and for those around him. And he had immensely strong values. He held on to certain things in his life. And he stood by what he believed. He always had an open ear. And even more than that, he had an open heart. All you needed to do was approach him. He was never going to start your conversation for you. Not anyone. You needed to open up to him, and then he'd open up to you. And I think Jono said it so beautifully, that it's your issue. Come to me with it and we'll deal with it together. If I've got an issue with you, I'll come to you and we'll talk about it and we'll deal with it together. But he wasn't going to start your conversation for you. The sport of indoor cricket was his absolute passion. And he often spoke about how this sport should be way, way, way ahead of where it is today. That was his main frustration, is that the politics, he believed, was holding everything back. He enjoyed it to be a sport. He envisioned the sport to be watched by many people. He thought it was an ideal television sport. Because this sport brings together skill and action. Doesn't take long. It's like, 90 minutes in a test match of high intensity that just flows together. And you didn't need much of not many cameras. You didn't need 30 cameras. You needed 2, maybe 3. And that is one of the reasons that we started streaming the Ladies League on Tuesday nights at this very arena, was to showcase what is possible. We incorporated advertising and other elements like the scorecard and brought it together to broadcast just a normal league game. And it was there to show what is possible when passionate people do something with limited resource. Don't let stuff hold you back. Go and have fun. But as always with pioneers, it takes time for others to see those benefits and actually implement those ideas and bring them together. I think the time is ready for the sport to step up its game. It was the same with his coaching methods. He didn't just walk on unprepared. He prepared for a week before a camp, for instance. He didn't arrive and say, what are we going to do today? He knew exactly what he was going to do today. And he would never change a player, but he would mold the traits of a player to bring out the best in them. And he would bring out the best in people using what they bring to him to deal with. And that was the same at work. It was the same with people that he dealt with on a day-to-day basis. Keeping it simple was pure coaching. Don't be flashy, don't try too hard. And most of all, have fun doing what you do and give it everything you've got. Don't hold back. We should live by those lessons, and we can apply them to everything we do in life. Our condolences go out to his wife, Lenice. He loved you to the moon and back. You to him were everything. The two stars in his life, Jonathan, Leighton, he was always proud of you boys. Thank you that we were allowed to share him with you. To his sister Maggie, his brothers Bert and Dan, thank you for your part in shaping him to become who he was. And I know you made it rough on him. It was good. Clanky Bert, we're thinking of you too. You've lost your hero, but his memory will live on. The sport of indoor cricket in Gauteng North and throughout South Africa is mourning this untimely passing with all of you. And on behalf of the family, I want to thank everyone for the messages, the thoughts, the prayers. While you may not think that words can express all you want to say, know that every expression of grief and support has reached us. Every check-in was valued and appreciated. All that's left to say, Coachy, you'll be missed by everyone. Rest in peace, big boy, in the arms of our Almighty Father, your provider.
I believe you are able. I believe you are good. I believe you are with me even now. I believe you are greater than every mountain that I face. I believe you will supply all I need. You're all I need. Till the ocean runs dry, my God is my provider. Though my heart it may fail, your love will light the way. And if there's one thing I know that you are with me. You're my provider. Would you speak? I am listening. I can't do this on my own. So I will lift up my eyes, for my help is found in you. Found in you. Till the ocean runs dry, my God is my provider. till the